Hello and welcome into the Week 10 edition of the ETSN.fm podcast. I'm Clint Buckley, and as always, I'm joined by Chandler Vessels. Well, it's getting serious now, Chandler. There's just 2 weeks remaining in the regular season, and that means there's a mad scramble for the remaining playoff spots out there in the districts in East Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of districts where the district championship is going to be decided either this week or next week, and a lot of those districts where people are fighting for that final playoff spot. One of them is 9A or 9-5A D2 that we're going to talk about a lot during this podcast. So it's a really important last couple weeks here.
Yeah, we'll save all the playoff scenario discussions for next week as we get to the end of the regular season. But for now, I want to focus on 3 games this week that are not only going to have. I mean, these teams are headed to the playoffs, all of them. But these games have huge implications as far as the district championship goes. And we'll start in Class 5A Division 1. A big game on the road for John Tyler as they travel to Mesquite Poteet. This is a matchup of the only 2 remaining unbeatens in 7-5A D1. I saw John Tyler last week. They were up, pretty big, 28-10 in the third quarter, and they looked like they were cruising along. And then just some uncharacteristic mistakes. They would have, some personal foul and unsportsmanlike conduct penalties that would kill themselves on offense, and then in turn give good field position to McKinney North, and McKinney North was able to make a game of it. In fact, could have won. They were inside John Tyler's 10-yard line with, about 3 minutes to play, and they fumbled with trailing by 3 points. So John Tyler was lucky and fortunate enough to escape with that win and put themselves in position this week to win a district championship. Mesquite Poteet's very good. They're 7-1 overall this year, 4-0 in district. Their only loss coming in week 1 against Denton Ryan, which is ranked number 3 right now in the state in Class 5A by the Associated Press. Poteet's very good, and they're led by a fantastic running back in Seth McGowan, a 4-star recruit. He's only a junior. In fact, he got a TCU offer yesterday, but he's got offers from Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Texas, A&M, you name it, he's got them. So he's going to be obviously a huge focal point for John Tyler's defense. Can't allow him to have the type of success that he's capable of and he's been doing of late. I made a point to mention this in my preview of the game, which is on ETSN.fm right now, about how in big games like this, coaches tend to really feed their best player on offense, and more so than they do, earlier in the year or in games that are less important. Last week in their win against West Mesquite, a season high 27 carries, also tied a season high with 239 yards for Seth McGowan. So I have a feeling that he may even eclipse that this week against John Tyler. I have a feeling we might see 30 carries from him, just depending on how the game goes and how John Tyler's defense holds up against the run. John Tyler, on the flip side, when they have the ball, they're going to have to have another big game on the ground. That's what they've been doing all season long. I don't see any reason for them to change their game plan. I mean, they've been very much a run-first operation this season, and that's been kind of different from some of the JT teams we've seen in the past that have had good passing quarterbacks, a la Bryson Smith, Greg Ward. Devlin Woods is a good quarterback. He's a solid field general, but he's not one of those guys that's going to throw for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's very much a game manager and can pick his spots and make big plays downfield, but really he's just asked to manage the game and hand the ball off to their stable of running backs, which includes Roderick Calkins, who had a 200-yard rushing game last week. He's kind of cemented himself as the guy in that offense for John Tyler, but that's not to say that they don't get contributions from other people. Cam Grant is averaging almost 10 yards a carry or over 10 yards a carry, and he's second on the team in rushing. And then a guy that's kind of come around of late is Kadarian Asbell, a physical runner, senior. I believe he's like 210 pounds, maybe 6 feet tall. He's a big kid. And he'll get carries, especially in short yardage situations. And it's important for John Tyler with their offense to keep fresh legs in the game, to kind of wear down the opposing defense. And that's going to be a big key for them this week against Poteet. I think neither offense is just going to it wows you with their numbers. I mean, neither team averages 40-plus points per game. John Tyler does have a pretty efficient and very effective running game, as does Mesquite Poteet. So I think it's really going to come down to which team is able to dictate tempo the best on offense. So which ground game has the most success? Is it going to be Seth McGowan and Mesquite Poteet, or is it going to be Rod Hawkins, Cam Grant, Kadarian Asbell and that John Tyler rushing attack. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. The winner of this game, in all likelihood, is going to win the district and finish as the top seed in the playoffs as we get closer to that. So looking forward to that. I'll be there at 7 p.m. Friday at Hanby Stadium in Mesquite. Now on to Class 5A, another game that has district championship implications, a game you'll be attending Friday in Marshall, White House at Marshall.
Yeah, it's pretty simple for this one. If Marshall wins, they win the district championship outright, but it gets a little bit more complicated if White House beats Marshall. Then we'll have a three-way tie for that top spot between Marshall, White House, and then Lindale, who beat White House a couple weeks ago, 1914. Right. And you told me earlier if that were the case, they would take those three teams and use their head-to-head matchups and determine it through margin of victory. So it'll get a little complicated if White House wins, but I'm expecting Marshall to come out on top in this one.
They've been playing great.
Yeah. They blew out who did they play last week? They beat them 40 Nacogdoches, I think.
40-0. They have back-to-back shutouts.
Yeah.
They've shut out Jacksonville and Nacogdoches in back-to-back weeks. So we all knew about their offense, but now that their defense is coming around, I mean, this is a very scary team.
Yeah, I've been noticing it too with those just doing the stats every week. Their defensive guys are starting to sort of climb those leaderboards. Brevin Randall's a linebacker who's got 65 tackles, 21 for loss, and a few sacks. Mike Washington is just a sophomore defensive lineman. He's got 8 sacks, which is, I believe, third in East Texas right now. So.
You know, you make a good point about Washington. You only being a sophomore, but
yeah,
Marshall's got a lot of those guys that are young on defense, and that was a big question mark that we had of Marshall coming into the season is what were they going to look like on defense with so many seniors graduating off last year's group, and we kind of saw early on that they struggled a little bit on defense. You know, there were probably some breakdowns in communication, some missed assignments, but obviously, they've corrected those. They've shut out the last 2 opponents, and that's what makes this team so scary because we all know about the offense and J.J. Green and the fantastic receivers, but the defense, if they are able to keep getting better like they have week to week this season, not only does Marshall stand a very good chance of winning Friday against White House and winning the district, but who knows what they can accomplish once the playoffs begin.
Yeah. And, I mean, you mentioned J.J. Green and all those receivers. I think that's what this game is going to come down to is the passing battle between these two teams because White House has a very good passing attack, too. I mean, they lost Kendall Fry to injury. He's sort of their speedy guy.
He came back last week and had a big game against Pine Tree.
He did.
Yeah.
So, Kendall Fry and then Kendrion Johnson, who's got close to 800 yards this year, and then Cameron Cantrell, he was injured a little bit earlier in the year, but since he's come back, he's really started to come on here late in the season. He's averaging 99 yards over his past 3 games and at least 1 touchdown in each of those games so far. So White House is just as maybe not quite at the level that Marshall is at receiver, but they're right there for second place.
They're pretty deep.
Yeah, in this district at receiver. So I'm curious to see the passing, how those two teams go back and forth at each other on offense when they have the ball.
And I think just as an outsider's perspective, I think a big key in this game might be which team is able to run the ball the best.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the 2 passing games and how even they are as far as the stats go, and how they like to attack, they're very similar. They might just cancel each other out, the passing attacks, and it's whichever team maybe has the big play or 2 on the ground. And picking up the first down on short yardage or something like that may be the difference in the game. So I look at it to see, because White House, they've struggled. Both White House and Marshall, they've kind of been up and down this year as far as finding a consistent running back. Now J.J. Green does a lot of their heavy lifting running the football, and Flint Harrington is not necessarily that type of quarterback for White House. White House has to have running backs carry the load on offense, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what, if any, impact the running game for either team will have. So looking forward to that one. That's 7:30 Friday in Marshall. Chandler will be there. And then one more game we got to talk about last but not least. 2 teams that are awfully familiar with one another.
Yeah.
Carthage and Henderson, longtime rivals. They're separated along Highway 79 by, I believe, 25 to 30 miles. No love lost in this series. This is the 5th time since 2016 these teams have met. They've met twice in each of the last 2 seasons, once in the regular season and in the playoffs. Carthage has gotten the better of Henderson in the last 3 meetings. I think they've won three out of the last 4. I think if Carthage is going to lose before the playoffs, this would be the game.
Yeah.
I mean, the Kilgore next week. Kilgore struggled. They'll be going into that game, looking for 3rd or 4th place in the district. This one is for the district championship and for the top spot in the district. Both teams are 3-0 in league play coming in. Henderson's won 6 in a row since beginning the season. 0-2. They lost to White House, and White House has had a nice season. So there's really no shame in that. And then they lost to Pleasant Grove in a very competitive game the week after that. So we all know about Pleasant Grove. So Henderson does have some impressive losses, and they really come together these last 6 weeks. Caleb Medford's having a tremendous season for them, both as a receiver, and he runs the football some too. And then the quarterback, Sebastian De Leon, is played well as well, and stepping and filling in for the graduated Trey Hall, who had such a big impact for Henderson the last several years. So looking forward to this one. Henderson's defense has played really well in district play. They've given up a total of 14 points in their 3 district wins. They gave up 7 to Palestine, 7 to Kilgore, and then they shut out Chapel Hill last week. So Carthage's, they've had the better end of it the last couple of meetings with Gunnar Capps at quarterback. He's really kind of dialed up the long pass play. I remember last year D. Bowens hurt him deep twice with long pass plays. Gunnar doesn't have D. Bowens anymore, but he does have Kelvonte Dixon, which is a nightmare for a lot of area defensive coordinators. He's going to keep a lot of opposing defensive coaches up at night. So this is a very interesting game. Carthage is kind of, I don't want to say they've underachieved, but it's almost as if they've kind of gone through the motions in district play. They got off to that hot start against Van, and then kind of, really didn't do a whole lot in the second half. They won 35-7. They just didn't look very good at all the next week against Chapel Hill. I mean, there was a rainstorm, which I guess you can chalk some of that up to that. But they had to come from behind at halftime to beat a Chapel Hill team, which has obviously struggled immensely this season. And then last week against Palestine, it was a strong performance, 40-9. But and I think it's better than they had played the last 2 weeks. But I think for Carthage to come out with a win on the road in a hostile environment in Henderson in a rivalry game, they're going to have to probably play the best football they've played in probably about a month. Because they didn't really play very well against Pleasant Grove. They were fortunate enough to come out with a win in their non-district finale. It's been a while since Carthage has had a top-to-bottom great game, and it was probably the game you were at against Gilmer. So they're probably going to need another one of those type of performances if they want to go on the road and get a win over a Henderson team that's playing awfully well right now. So can't wait for that one. Carthage-Henderson, big rivalry game, 7:30 Friday at Lions Stadium in Henderson. Well, before we get out of here, we want to give a special shout-out to our offensive and defensive players of the week. Up first on offense, it's Van junior quarterback Jayton Moffitt. He's kind of been splitting time with Liam Nielsen this season at quarterback, but he kind of stepped into that starting role and played the entire game last week, and man, did he deliver. He passed for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, ran for 50 yards and another touchdown, as Van took a hard-fought win over Kilgore 35-28. So congratulations to our offensive player of the week, Van quarterback Jayton Moffitt. And on defense,
yeah, we have Harmony linebacker Easton Blackstone. The Eagles beat ARP 48-7 last week, and he had 6 tackles, including 1 for loss, an interception, a forced fumble, and quarterback pressure. So well earned for Easton.
Yeah. So once again, congratulations to our players of the week, Jayton Moffitt and Easton Blackstone. That's going to do it for this week. Be sure to check out ETSN.fm right now for the best coverage of football anywhere in East Texas. Also, download the free ETSN mobile app right now. It's available at the App Store or at Google Play. It's the best way to keep track of the best live scoreboard in East Texas, no matter where you happen to be on Friday night. If you have any questions or comments for us, as always, you can leave them in the comments section below, or you can hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Clint Buckley. He's at Chandler Vessels, and you can also find us at ETSN.fm. Well, everyone have a great weekend, and we will talk to you again next week.